Life is funny. So, uh, I don't even know where to start with this one. So I've been upset for the past week, and I mean upset about a situation. And I just want to talk about the unnecessary suffering we put ourselves through because we make assumptions and then we think that we're not. Um, so the situation involved two people. I'm going to focus on my friend, and she behaved in a certain way that was completely baffling to me and so completely out of character. Completely out of character. I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone. I was like, what is this invasion of the body snatchers? Like, what happened? I was so hurt and I was just devastated that my friend would do these things. Um, and she was getting upset at me, and I was just like, why won't she even talk to me? She's not even responding to me. Like, what is happening? Like, I was really like in the Twilight Zone. I was like, this is so weird. I've known this girl forever. We've been friends forever. Like, this is like, and I kept putting it through my head and putting my through my head, and because it also involved someone with whom I have. There we go. Okay. Um, so I was just so confused by this behavior because I knew it was just so like literally. I was like, what? Like something invaded her body and has taken over her actions. This is not her. But because it also involved someone with whom I have unresolved issues, let's just put it that way, um, I didn't think beyond myself. Um, and I finally, so then like something else happened, which was just like, it just blew me away. I was like, it was just like, I cannot, like my heart just broke. And if any of you have watched the past videos in the past week, um, you'll see. I mean, I was really, really hurting. Like, oh my God, I was prepared to live for months grieving the loss of this friend. Um, but then we talked finally because I texted her and I was like, "What the hell is going on? I don't understand. How can you do this? Like, it's just so many. Like, there's so many completely horrible actions that you're taking, and I don't understand where your head's at. Like, this is not like you. What's going on?" And finally, uh, she called me, and she was livid. She's just like, there's just this explosion of anger and like frustration that came at me, and like she was, I mean, it was like, and she mentioned a couple times that I'm not the only thing going on in her life, and I was like, oh, now this makes sense. Of course, there's something going on with her. Like, and it became so freaking obvious. I was like, why didn't I think of this before? Like, obviously, if she's taking these actions, something's up with her. It's not personal to me. Something's going on with her, and it didn't occur to me. Which I've learned a lesson now, and that's something I'm going to be on the lookout for in the future. Um, and we talked. And I let her get this out. It was, oh God, I feel so bad for her. She was so much pain. And when she finished, I mean, she was ready to hang up on me, and I was just, can we just talk for the 3 more minutes? And she was quiet, and I was just like, okay, clearly there's something going on here that I don't know about, and I'm really sorry for whatever that is. Like, I'm so sorry that you're going through whatever it is you're going through. And, I talked to her about how she's been my emotional supporter many times, and, you know, I would like to be hers, but not that I expected her to call me and tell me every little bad thing that was going on in her life, and that I was really confused by all these actions, and I was just picking my brain about what was going on, but that the fact that she could be going through something didn't occur to me. And there was another thing that she's like, if you had told me X, because I told her this. She's like, if you had told me X, I never would have lied, and you should have told me. And I was like, well, I didn't tell you X because I thought it would be selfish and it would be putting a barrier in front of you to doing something that was good for your business. Maybe that was a mistake. uh, but I wanted you to be comfortable being able to grow your business. And then I was like, um, you know, what did I say? I was just trying to get it go. It was just like such a mind-blowing, intense, short but intense conversation. And I just said like, look, I am sorry that I didn't figure that out. I should have. It should have been obvious. But I didn't know that there was something going on with you. You didn't tell me. And like silence. She was just like, oh, like I'm sorry I blew up at you. And I was like, fine, it's fine. Totally 100% fine. And she's like, well, what do we do now? I was just like, let's just take some space, chill out, think about things, and you get back to me when you feel better. And she's like, okay. But so number one, we're gonna eat some humble pie, um, and say, like, don't make assumptions. Don't think that you know the facts if you don't know them. Even I was thinking in my head, I was like, well, sure, it's connected to this other thing, but they're two separate things. And I'm thinking about this completely as its own, as like my relationship. Yeah, Samson, but yes, she didn't communicate it, but she wasn't in the right mind. She was doing things that she never would have done before because she wasn't thinking straight because of whatever was going on. And as a friend, as a human being, recognizing that me getting upset about something, getting like deathly upset, like my world is just around it and building this story around it that I didn't even realize that I was building. All of that could have been avoided if I was just like, huh, something must be up. It's not. We are responsible for our own actions and reactions, not those of others. Whether or not she thought to communicate it, I, I mean, I didn't know what was happening, so I made something up. So yeah, no, I know, and that's what this whole sorry, that's what this whole video is about. I the point is that there was a misunderstanding, a miscommunication, and I made assumptions that became detrimental to myself and her. It upset the hell out of both of us. And yes, two people play a part in it, but also the one who has a bit clearer of a head, you know, anyway, I'm not blaming anyone, I'm just explaining. What the point is that nothing to do with blaming someone here. It's all to do with looking at the situation and avoiding suffering. Not avoiding suffering, but minimizing your own suffering and the suffering of others, right? Because I didn't need to suffer. I didn't need to go through a week of like, what's going on? I can't believe it. What's happening? I didn't need to go through that. My heart was breaking. It was real time, real emotion. Like not world was ending, but like, this incredible feeling of sadness and loss and grief that was based on something that I was assuming, and that wasn't true. So that's a lesson learned. And also, it's a bit of a humbling, I have to say, to admit you're wrong. So it was interesting during the conversation. That usually when someone's angry at me and yelling at me or whatever, I get very flustered and I tense up and I don't know what to say. And I think about it a half an hour later and I'm like, oh, this is what I should have said. But because instead of focusing on myself, I was actually listening to her and what was going on with her, I wasn't worried at all. I wasn't freaking out at all. I heard it's not personal. It wasn't personal. It was I just sit there and I just want to put it in there were parts of me that were like, oh wait, no wait, you know what I mean? Like, because no one wants to be wrong. No one wants to be wrong. It's not fun. Um, but just kind of walking up and down the same street here. People are probably like, what is happening? Why is this girl going up and down? Um, but um, what was I saying? I was talking about humbling and not wanting to admit that I'm wrong. So while I was listening to her, I was conscious of little parts of me that was like standing up and being like offended or getting nervous or wanted to fight back. But I understood that those parts of me, that was just ego, and that doesn't need to come into like that's so unimportant. Um, and it didn't need to come into play, and that letting it come into play would be even worse. Um, so I'll go this way. Whoops. So, sorry. Across the street. You're supposed to stop, and you are too. You're not going to. Okay, cool. So anyway, I'm very distracted. Um, so so yeah, it's my ego. It was my ego, uh, just speaking, and I didn't need to listen to it. I was able to put it aside and listen to her. And because of that, I was able to see where the miscommunication comes into play, see where the hurt was, see why what had happened, and able to salvage the friendship. Not even salvage it. I think it's going to get stronger in the end. You know what I mean? Like, I was able to approach her in a much more compassionate way, an understanding way, and explain with no hostility, no sense of like, but here's my point of view, apologize for my assumptions and give her the space that she needs to recover herself. And I think that's very important, and it's a very good lesson to learn. It is also a good lesson to learn not only that assumptions make asses out of you and me, and or assume, right? That's assumptions would make an ass out of you and assumptions. So when you assume and makes asses out of it, I don't know why I went on that little tangent, but when you assume something, you for no reason over a misunderstanding can damage a friendship, can make someone suffer, make yourself suffer, contribute to the suffering in the world, when all you had to do was step down from your ego and take a more objective look around. And then also coming on this and admitting it is a humbling that I think I deserve and I need, because I was up in my little like I am becoming so evolved. Look at how wonderfully humble I am. I'm just gonna pat myself on the back for being so goddamn humble, right? I needed this. I needed this kick in the ass. And so not just privately, I want to admit to being wrong publicly because I think that's something. Pat myself on the back. Yeah, that's one of my things that I need working on. My humility about humility. But yeah, it's admitting you're wrong is not hard once you get past your ego. It's not. You see, I mean, it's actually the strong thing to do, right? The strong thing to say, hey, I made a mistake and I'm going to learn from it. So the next time I won't. But I'm also not going to stew in it. This is what I used to do too. This is again something I just thought of. This is what I used to do. I would make a mistake and like this would be something where it would be like, oh, okay, now that's in there for the next until I die. And it's something I'll go back to often and torture myself with. That's that's the way I used to think. And I'm not going to do that this time. Or at least not, I mean, I might go back to it again and again and again, but it's not torture. It's me just rethinking it. I'm being happy that that's how it worked out. But that's something I need to work on. Like, okay, it happened, it's gone. Let that go. Um, but I also want to admit to you guys, because my whole thing is being authentic and being open about it and showing people this is the inner workings. Maybe it's similar to what you're going through, maybe it's not, but we all go through things and they're all like this, so don't be ashamed to admit to it, right? Um, so I wanted to do that, but I also have to admit to you that I was going back and forth in my head about keeping those videos up, the ones where I flipped it. Well, not flipped out. I won't call it flipped out. Where I was very, very upset and dealing with it. And I was like, oh, if I take those down, that's just not authentic. Like I gotta keep those up and then admit that I'm wrong, so then people can go back and look and da 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 da. And if I take those down, my whole thing unravels. So I was going back and forth, and I'm like, but am I that evolved? am I that to that point where my ego can take that kind of bashing? And I've decided I'm okay with the fact that I'm not. As long as I admit that here, right? So I'm going to go ahead and be authentic about being inauthentic, which I think is a very clever, clever solution to this problem. Um, so that's what I wanted to say too. Like if you're looking at this video and you're like, where are those videos that she's talking about? I want to go back and see how upset she was and what she was saying. I took them down because I'm embarrassed. And maybe one day I'll put them up on YouTube. But right now, I don't know. I want people to see them. Anyway, I think that's pretty much all I have to say. I hope that it's been useful and instructional or amusing and entertaining to hear me go on and on about feelings and how to deal with them. Uh, and yeah, so while I am pretty embarrassed, there's a couple of other things I could talk about, but I'm not going to because I'm going to go meet a friend. Michael, only surround yourself with positive, supportive people. Yeah, but you're not. She is a positive, supportive person. This was an aberrant behavior, and you can't just cut someone out of your life because they get pissed off, or that because they're having an issue. And I mean, we're not perfect. No one's perfect. If people said to me, "Well, I'm going to cut you out of my life because you were negative for a week," like no one would have any relationships. We're not perfect. She is a supportive, wonderful person, and that's why I was so befuddled by her actions. You know, um, I agree that you have to surround yourself with the people that you want to be like, and for the most part, that's true of her. You know. Um, anyway, the yeah. Anyway, there's another thing that I'd like to talk about, but I will save that for a later time because I'm going to go meet a friend. And yeah, that's it. So I am embarrassed that I made a mistake, bashful or not, just sheepish, I guess. Sheepish, like, oh, I should have known that. Um, but glad to have the opportunity to humble my ego further, and glad to have the opportunity to bring yet another emotionally interesting situation to you, and to talk about how to deal with them, uh, and learn the lessons going forward, and hopefully like apply them to the next time around. So I can be grateful for that. Grateful for the learning that is being put in my life, lessons, and the good people in my life that I love very much and want to be supportive of. And grateful, oh, so grateful not to lose that friend because she's a special, special part of my heart. And it was killing me thinking that I'd lost the friendship. Um, so I'm super grateful that we had a talk last night and that she did yell at me. And, I'm glad she got that out, at least a little bit of energy release. She obviously needed it. Um, and yeah, so I can be grateful for that, which means, per usual, I'm going to leave you with the thought that you can always choose to have a grateful